Call of Duty Zombies, just like every other piece of media before it, is no stranger to reference outside of its base material, and in fact has managed to find its way onto a lot of pieces of clothing, merchandise, and even figures outside of the base game. However, despite Call of Duty's collaboration with a lot of specific companies such as U2's and even Funko long ago, it has shocked me that Call of Duty as a whole has never tried to strike a deal with the huge toy brand of the modern era, LEGO. The extremely famous and well-known building blocks company LEGO has seemingly grown to be one of, if not the largest current toy brand in not only the United States, but worldwide, and has sparked numerous minds of all ages over the years to create and learn more about the brand itself. I personally am a huge fan of LEGO ever since a little kid, and have actually built a pretty substantial collection myself over the years since I first got into it in my early childhood. The company is easily one of the craziest brands in the modern era, but recently has been slightly scrutinized for their increase in pricing. But with Activision being the more money-hungry and desperate companies we have ever seen, they would seemingly fit this model extremely well and would somehow manage to earn them even more money than they would have previously managed, so it's been done before, right? Well, not exactly actually. LEGO, at least as of making this video, has never done an official partnership with Call of Duty or the brand in any way. However, another company actually has in the past. Introducing Mega Bloks, a company that was always competing with LEGO, but in all honesty never beat them and definitely now never will. But this company actually collaborated with Call of Duty back in 2013. Starting in 2013, Mega Bloks would release sets under the Call of Duty name that included various soldiers and basic Call of Duty locations within them. However, they did actually release two sets that featured zombies within them. The first set would be based off of Farm from Black Ops 2, featuring the barn and a bunch of zombies within it to give off the transit vibe. However, it really was not all that special in my opinion, and could easily be mistaken for something like The Walking Dead, for instance. Not to spoil anything necessarily, but this is honestly a trend with these sets that were released. Like, sure, they were zombies and they had the locations from some of the maps maybe, but they really did not feel like Call of Duty zombies, you know? Farm did not have that much to offer though. Really, the only interesting feature that was in the set was this pulley device and a huge windmill, which to my knowledge does not actually appear anywhere on Farm. The only windmill I could find that was potentially on Farm was this windmill, which of course makes sense as it's a typical windmill that you would see on a farm like this, but not this huge industrial windmill. But anyways, Mega Bloks additionally released a smaller set alongside it that had a pretty basic and nameless group of zombies just shambling near a light post, which I guess is relatively interesting, but besides that, that was all that was released in 2013. 2014 honestly did not kick it off with a great start, as Mega Bloks released yet another zombie horde, this time titled Zombie Outbreak, since, you know, the set features the exact same amount of zombies as the horde, so it must be an outbreak, right? Jokes aside, I really tried to figure out where this could be on Transit, since this is the map that it's clearly based off of, but honestly, it got me nowhere. See, this is what I mean with these sets. As you will listen on, it does actually get better really soon, but the majority of them are so bland that it really is hard to distinguish if the set really has meaning to it or not, and it sucks because there is some real potential for these sets. I will say though, the designs of the zombies are actually pretty accurate to those we see in the game, which is the least of what they could have done, so I am relatively happy with the fact they got this right. However, later in 2014, Mega Bloks actually released a half-decent set with Mob of the Dead. This set actually has some pretty substantial size to it with 277 pieces, and the minifigures within it are actually pretty accurate to the map, which is always a great sign and something that Mega Bloks actually did really well in all honesty. Now, don't ask me why this police zombie is holding a revolver, because Ferguson surely did not do that in the intro cutscene of the map, but the rest of the playset is relatively harmless. It has the prison that we are all familiar with, even having some small additions to it like the shock box and what I can only assume is an insta-kill drop sitting at the top of the stairs there. I don't really know. Despite the fact that I personally believe there could be a lot more with this set, and the fact that it's honestly pretty inaccurate to the actual map, I will give it the credit it deserves for being miles better than those cheap little sets we got with just zombies. That was it for 2014. Yeah, two sets released throughout the whole year. Can you see why I was disappointed with these rollouts? 2015 did actually kick it off with a banger though, with a really really small set titled Brutus. It came with a grand total of 42 pieces, but actually is probably my favorite in the whole series, but only because of its accuracy and how well it actually recreates Brutus. The minifigure itself is really great and manages to capture his appearance really well in detail throughout the minifigure, and the set even comes with a prison cell backdrop and even a bonus ray gun Mark II, which, might I add, is a really cool design and a shame it only appeared here. The only problem with this is that we didn't actually get a character from the cast such as, Al or Finn, so nobody's really there to hold it, but I digress. It actually somehow went down from this set though, as this year also saw yet another zombie mob set, this time featuring the hazmat zombies we see in Nuketown. Now yes, is this design cool? Absolutely, but is it really worth getting a whole set based off of these minifigures? Like, I have no idea what Mega Bloks was necessarily thinking with these. Like, woohoo, I got zombies, but if I don't have a place to use them, what's the point? And I'm not gonna act like Lego doesn't do this too, but at least when they do, they include little playsets with it, like vehicles or greenery or literally anything. But all we got was some backdrop with a fence and a lamppost. Woohoo. But it doesn't end there, as we get another mob set. But I admit this one is actually a little cooler. The Zombies Moon mob at least was unique and actually paid homage to a Black Ops 1 map, at least I think, which at the time was foreign to these playsets as they had only been released for Black Ops 2 at the time. And this one actually had a little background piece that was somewhat interesting with this radar looking thing, I guess. It did ramp up a little bit near the end of 2015, however, as another full-scale playset was released with the Zombies Transit Diner. With 489 pieces, this thing gave you an interesting version of Diner that actually features one of the only perk machines in any of these sets, and that of course is Speed Cola. Now the machine itself is questionable, but in all honesty, it is just nice to see some form of Call of Duty Zombies media injected into these builds. But I actually made a Speed Cola perk machine a while back, and I think I did it a bit better. Anyways, it is actually pretty accurate compared to the Mob of the Dead build, and the sign outside of the diner is a nice touch, but again, I just wish they did more with the concept. The last set released for this year actually was pretty interesting, as it is a collector's item that was only sold at San Diego Comic-Con in 2015. Which I find really cool. It is a singular minifigure set that features a metallic zombie and a sign with 2015 behind it, and in all honesty, I can't really criticize or praise it because it was released as an exclusive to Comic-Con. Despite its rarity, it currently actually only goes for about $30 at the highest online, so it really isn't anything too special and nothing like the Lego exclusives that would be at these events, which could go upwards of thousands of dollars now. 2016 would be the final year for the series and would only release 2 sets once again, which does kind of go to show the popularity of the series, which was very much dwindling if not already dead. And we started off with one that exemplifies this with Zombies Office Mob, which might have been based off of 5 seen in Black Ops 1, but honestly it's pretty hard to tell. They just kind of threw a bunch of zombies with suits into a set with a singular table and called it a day, which kind of is really boring actually. But they finished out this pretty lackluster series with a bang as the final scaled playset released with Zombies Nuketown. I actually am pretty fond of this set. The house looks really accurate, the sign outside is really interesting, and the only problem I have with it is that yes, double tap does appear, which is great because it actually looks pretty decent, but the design is actually the 1.0 version when in reality it should have been the 2.0 design that was featured in this game. This is what I mean when I say that I'm pretty sure the people who made these sets genuinely had no idea what a COD Zombies was and just kind of threw things to see if it stuck, and evidently it never did. But that was the last Zombies Call of Duty Mega Bloks set that we would ever see. Now, am I disappointed with this? Absolutely. They could have done so much more for the sets, and it really would not have cost them that much more money to make. Like, literally making anything would have been better. Like, a transit bus would have been a given and would have been such a cool set to have, or maybe even a smaller one with Mob of the Dead and the dog heads or something. But overall, it is a very disappointing line that really did not spark any interest to me. It is just unfortunate this is what they turned out like. So with the disappointment of Mega Bloks, has Zombies been done for any other building company? Well, I want to go back to Lego because despite the fact that it has not been officially released as a set or endorsed by Lego, many within the community have actually taken their time to build areas of maps or even whole maps. One particular another example of this that I wanted to look into was this showcase that was done by a kid named Sean Veers at a LEGO event known as Brick Fair in 2021. In this showcase, he actually recreated scenes from every single Aether Zombies map within the game up to Black Ops 4, which is actually a very good idea and such a cool thing to see in LEGO. So I wanted to look into this to not only see the potential of what sets or ideas like this could accomplish looking at You Mega Block, but to also see where these locations are that Sean built to test not only the accuracy but his knowledge of the game as well. I did want to say that all of the footage for this section of the video will be provided by Beyond the Brick, and if you would like to see the original source of the video, it will be in the description below. Obviously, the first map that he recreated was Nocturne Toten, which is pretty obviously the specific corner of the map, and it shows off the barricade and the marine on the map shooting into it. This small little build conveys a lot about the map as a whole, and actually is stated by Sean in the video to be a representation of older zombies, as you used to prioritize rebuilding the barriers on the map. With his Varrock build, he chose to do the iconic power switch, which of course was introduced on this map, as well as including one of the 4 Marines that were sent to extract Peter McCain. And it does a really great job at showing off the setting, even having the Marine hold the Thompson, which of course was a key part to World at War Zombies as a whole. Shinonuma's build features a zombie being flung by the flogger, easily one of my favorites in the whole series, and it very clearly represents an iconic part of Shinonuma. The final map of World at War, Der Ries, actually is one of the cooler of all the sets he built, as not only does it feature an iconic location with Pack-a-Punch, but it features a light within the teleporter that really makes it look good. Additionally, Richtofen is outside with a ray gun, which of course is not entirely accurate, but it looks really cool anyways. The set of Kino der Toten is the iconic stage setting with the trap sitting on top, which is a super cool design, and he even took the time to recreate the thunder gun out of LEGO, which honestly is pretty impressive. He additionally painted on a Lord of the Rings minifigure to recreate a Nova Crawler, which is very creative as well. 5 seems to take place in the spawn room, with the table and chair being present as it is on the map, and it even features JFK, which of course is a nice touch. Ascension set is pretty cool to me actually, as it shows a custom Nikolai figure riding a lunar lander, which of course is a pivotal step to not only this map's Easter egg, but the Pack-a-Punch as well. Call of the Dead has a really cool build, as despite the fact it does not really have anything else, it features the iconic George Romero, which is featured on the map obviously, and he does a great job with even the small details like his lamppost. I would assume this is the starting room, but of course Call of the Dead is covered in snow, so I really don't know. This little build honestly kind of reminded me of the Brutus Mega Block set, which actually turned out to be one of the better in my opinion, as this just seemed like it would be another great LEGO for Brutus in Mob of the Dead as well. His Shangri-La build is really iconic, as it actually has the spawn room of the map and even features a custom Takio figure with a spaz, which is a really neat addition and of course is not the biggest, but looks really good regardless. The moon build is not necessarily anything crazy. These custom wave guns that the astronaut is holding are super detailed and look great, but outside of that it is just the moon and an astronaut, so it accomplishes its task pretty well and that's about it. Transit has this pretty basic outdoors area with lava, but it does the atmosphere really well as it covers the zombie with lava, obviously meant to represent the fire zombies in the map that, you know, explode, and a really cool custom Misty figure that actually is designed very well. Nuketown Zombies has this iconic sign and a CIA agent fighting a hazmat zombie, which is super cool, but honestly there's not much else to add outside of that. Die Rise of course features the area where you build the Sliquifier, and it does a really great job with this custom Sliquifier model floating on the buildable table, even having Marlton feature with a zombie, and it's a really cool modeling sort of set. The Mob of the Dead build actually kind of reminds me of the Mega Block set in a way. It features the double layer prison, but it actually is pretty accurate this time, even featuring Al Arlington within the map, which is a super cool touch that he did not have to add, but did. The Buried build is actually really cool, as it shows Stuhlinger by the mystery box location on the map, and it is the only one of these builds to feature the iconic mystery box, which is a really neat touch and a good place for a model like this. Origins features a really well done build of one of the generators, and I am not entirely sure which one it is, but it looks great, even showing Richtofen with the fire staff, which is a cool design. Shadows of Evil seemingly is meant to represent the spawn room, as it features the altar and shows Nero with a starting pistol, which is a really nice build and shows shows off a key feature to Shadows. He did not actually build one for the giant, but that's pretty self-explanatory, but with Der Eisendrache he obviously had the APD built with the zero gravity area below the map, even showing off the zero gravity with them seemingly jumping. Zetsubo no Shima is interesting as it shows off the planting system within the map while also showing a really cool custom Takio minifigure. Gorod Krovi does a pretty cool take on the map as it shows off a graph module from the map, which of course is unique to it, and it looks pretty great actually. And of course, how could we forget, it shows off Nikolai with the iconic PPSH. Revelations unfortunately isn't anything crazy, but he did do a great job with the turret beam and showing it off and how it works, which of course is one of the only unique aspects to Revelations. Blood of the Dead easily has one of the best builds in my opinion, as it shows off the end cutscene where Richtofen was hooked up to this machine and eventually killed off. But the build is really detailed and looks very accurate to the actual in-game cutscene. Classified of course has the iconic elevator, which Sean states he included because that was the strategy people used and he didn't want to copy 5 of course. Alpha Omega shows off one of the mini bunkers on the map that lead to the lower portion, which was another great choice by Sean as of course it is unique to the map and shows off how it differs from Nuketown Zombies. And finally, the last build was the Tagder Toten spawn room with one of the power switches on the map, even featuring the Russman figure as well. Let me just say, this dude is insanely talented and easily this is one of the greatest things I have ever seen created for Call of Duty Zombies out of LEGO, and is why I wanted to include it as it's a potential example as to what they should have looked like rather than what we got with Mega Bloks. Do I think LEGO and Call of Duty Zombies will ever make sets? Absolutely not. But would it be cool to even get a LEGO ray gun mock? Absolutely. I know this is a completely different video than what you guys were probably expecting, but I hope you still enjoyed nonetheless because I actually enjoyed making this video. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.